everyone, what is going on? Raven here. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about rip currents. This is known as the ocean's deadliest trick. Every year, more than 100 beachgoers, on average, drown due to these strong river-like channels of water that pull swimmers away from the shore. Now, this is according to the U.S. Lifesaving Association, or USLA. And that's just in the United States. Nearly half of all rescues made by lifeguards at ocean beaches are related to rip currents. According to the USLA, sharks typically kill about 6 people a year globally. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the odds of passing away. So, this is actually that's going to be something I talk about in a different video. For right now, we're going to talk about rip currents. So how do rip currents work? A common perception is that rip currents pull swimmers underwater, and in reality, they're strong, narrow currents that flow away from the beach. Essentially, they're rivers of the sea, said Wendy Carey, a coastal hazardous specialist with the Delaware Sea Grant Advisory Service at the University of Delaware. She said, people start going under because they panic, and they feel like the current is pulling them under. There is no current that will pull you under in the ocean. There are many different types of rip currents, and they form in several different ways. Quickly changing wave heights, which occur when a large set of swells rolls in, can trigger a rip current. Rip currents can also occur at spots where there's a break in a sandbar, which, there, water is funneled out to sea. These channels and sandbars lie just off the beach. When water returns to the ocean, it follows the path of least resistance, which is typically through these channels. Strong rip currents are also often appear next to structures such as piers, jetties, and more. Breaking waves are the key ingredients for all rip currents. If there are no breaking waves, there won't be any rip currents. The risk of rip currents is determined by many factors like weather, tides, local variations in beach shape, and how waves break offshore. Some beaches may have rip currents nearly all the time, while other beaches almost never see the dangerous flows. These strong and often very localized currents can carry unsuspecting swimmers out to sea. The currents usually move at 1 to 2 feet per second, or about 0.6 meters per second, but stronger ones can pull at 8 feet per second, or about 1.6 meters per second, maybe even up to 2 meters. That's the same pace as a world record Olympic freestyler. Even an Olympic swimmer would find themselves going backward in a rip current pulse. So basically, like, for example, gold medalist Michael Phelps can swim the butterfly stroke at about 6.5 feet per second. So if you take a look at that versus a rip current, he might be having trouble if it was a stronger rip current. Rip currents can speed up dramatically in a short time. The unsteady flow of a rip current is similar to standing in a river on land. The strong flow can sweep you off your feet. An adult standing waist-deep water in a rip current would find it hard to stay in the same place. Heavy breaking waves can trigger a sudden rip current, but rip currents are most hazardous around low tide, when water is already pulling away from the beach. In the past, rip currents were sometimes called rip tides, which was a mistake. Tides are really slow changes in water level, and by themselves do not induce a rip current. A rip current is not at all a tide. Scientists have been studying rip currents for more than 100 years. In the past decade, advances in measurement techniques have provided many new insights into how these complicated currents work. Researchers now toss GPS-equipped drifters into the surf to precisely track rip currents, movements, and speed. Acoustic Doppler current profiling, or similar to sonar, has revealed the inner workings of rip currents. This acoustic Doppler current profiler sends out high-frequency pulses of sound that hit and bounce off particles in the water. The instrument measures the frequency of this returning signal. If the particle and surrounding water are moving away from the instrument, the signal will have a lower frequency, and if it's moving toward the instrument, it will have a higher frequency. So, we got into a little bit of an understanding of rip current. But now we need to learn how to spot it. and then we're going to learn how to survive it. So you need to know what it looks like before you even enter the water. Avoidance is the most important thing. Swim at a lifeguard protected beach and talk to the lifeguard on duty about the ocean conditions for that day. It's also really important to know how to swim and how to float before you venture ankle deep into the ocean. Learning how to spot a rip current can help you avoid getting caught in one. For instance, rip currents above deep sandbar channels look like calm patches of water. These calmer waters are often between turbulent breaking waves, presenting an inviting pathway to inexperienced beachgoers. Sometimes people inadvertently enter the water in one of the most dangerous spots just because it looks calm. So these following features could also signal a rip current in the water, according to the USLA. A channel of choppy water, an area with a different color than the rest of the water, a line of foam, seaweed, or debris that's moving out to sea, a break in the incoming waves. Even if you don't spot any of the signs, a rip current could still be underway. The USLA recommends wearing polarized sunglasses to see these ocean features more clearly. Now, we're here. How do we survive a rip current? It is easy to be caught in a rip current. Most often, it happens in waist-deep water. A person will dive under a wave, but when they resurface, they find they're much farther from the beach and still being pulled away. What they do next can decide their fate. Those who understand the dynamics of rip currents advise remaining calm. Conserve your energy. A rip current is like a giant water treadmill that you can't turn off, so it does no good to try to swim against it. Even small rips can flow faster than a person can swim. You should not try to swim against a rip. Rip currents are often narrow, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and the USLA suggest trying to swim parallel to the shore and out of the current. Once you've gotten out of the current, you can begin swimming back to shore. You may want to swim toward white water, where the waves are breaking. That may help you out of the rip. However, if it is too difficult to swim sideways out of the current, try floating or treading water and let nature do its thing. You'll wash out the current at some point and can then make your way back to shore. The latest research indicates that many rip currents circulate back to shore and would carry stranded swimmers along the current. But not all rip currents rotate in this manner. There are still occasions where the drifters would not be brought back. If swimming doesn't seem to be working for you, conserve your energy by floating or treading water and try to get attention of someone on shore, hopefully a lifeguard. And if you see someone who is caught in a rip current, don't become a victim yourself. This is what the USLA suggests that you do. Get help from a lifeguard, and if one is not available to you, call the local emergency service number. Don't try to rescue the person yourself unless it's the last resort and you have a raft, bodyboard, or life preserver with you. If you do go out close enough to the victim, throw the person a floatable device like a life jacket or the inflatable tube. You can also yell instructions on how to escape a rip current to the stranded person. There are many tragic stories where someone went to a rip current to try and save someone else and they came back passed on. They drowned. They themselves drowned. But usually they saved the other person's life. What do you guys think of this? Now, this is something that, like I said, I did not know about before. And I will show you guys lots of photos in this as well. Let me know what you guys think, obviously, in the comment section down below. Have any of you ever dealt with something like this before? Do you guys know anyone that has gone through this before? Now, there are, like I said, they are studying rip currents and everything else, so you should really keep an eye out for things like that. And before I finish today's video, I do want to talk about the difference between a rip current and a rip tide. Don't confuse a rip current with a rip tide. You need a tide for a rip tide. Rip tides are dangerous, fast, and usually found on the edges of enclosed coastal spaces like small bays or estuaries, or when a falling tide flows through an inlet. A rip current, on the other hand, is a powerful narrow channel of water moving away from the shore. What usually happens is waves break near the shore, water rushes over a sandbar, which is the other option. The water builds pressure as it's caught and piles up between breaking waves and the beach. The water then needs to find a way back to the lake or ocean. Hence the rip current. Now, like the doctor I mentioned before, or the woman, let me see. You totally forgot. Wendy Carey was her name. She's a specialist. She's the one that said that they actually used to call rip currents rip tides, and they are clearly not the same thing. This is just something because I know this is a new year. This is 2023. And this is something that a lot of people, especially in the warmer weather, when you're feeling good, you want to go outside, you want to be in the water. This is something where you're probably going to want to go to. You're probably going to want to go to a beach if you like the beach idea, if you love that kind of experience. So if you are someone that enjoys the ocean, you enjoy going to the beach, you enjoy being outside in the water, that is something to keep in mind, especially if you are traveling to another city, another state, or you're traveling out of the country. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are going, make sure you keep a lookout for rip currents or rip tides. Okay? I hope this was informative for you all today. I will link everything I use for the videos today in the description. You all know I do that. And I will see you all in my very next video. Bye!